Today we're going to take a close look at the Panasonic S1II and see how it stacks up against the Sony FX3.
Now, we've been shooting with the FX3 as our main camera on our YouTube channel for about 2 years now, and we absolutely love it. We get compliments all the time about the color and the quality of our YouTube videos.
Now, of course, same thing applies for the Sony FX3A, which has a new updated screen, but all the same specs still apply. We're going to take a really deep dive at the video section and let you know how the Panasonic S1II stacks up against the very popular FX3. We're really going to be rounding these cameras up when it comes to video features, and what better place to do that than the Calgary Stampede, the greatest outdoor show on earth. We had the opportunity to shoot some rodeo as well as some midway action to see how these cameras compare in a side-by-side test.
Now, it's a nice sort of real-world test on how you're going to use these cameras. It's not really big, elaborate setups. It's more run-and-gun style of videography. So how do these cameras stack up against one another?
So first of all, let's talk about the design of these cameras, because they are quite different, although they are still nice hand-holdable cameras that you can rig out, put in a gimbal, put in a lot of different shooting situations. But let's talk about how these cameras actually differ.
Now, Sony has built a very functional camera, although I find it almost sometimes a bit on the small side, and the buttons and dials are well laid out, but I find myself fumbling a little bit more with it than I do with the Panasonic.
Yeah, certainly from a hand-holdable standpoint, the Sony FX3 does have a nice grip, and there's a lot of aspects to it that make it kind of more designed for rigging. You can see all these 1/4-20 thread mounts, so you can really attach a lot of different accessories to it for video. Now, with the Panasonic S1II, you have kind of more of the traditional like DSLR style body.
Now, one really big factor between these two cameras is that the FX3 doesn't have an EVF. You're relying strictly on the rear screen here if you want to keep it nice and small and not put an external monitor on, where the Panasonic has a really nice looking viewfinder.
Yeah, and we're finding in super brightly lit conditions, like down at the Stampede grounds, having the electronic viewfinder is quite handy. It also, on some occasions, gives you a little bit more steady control while you're holding the camera. And we're going to talk about image stabilization a little bit later on, but I definitely appreciate having an EVF with the Panasonic camera.
Now, when it comes to recording your videos with these cameras, you have a couple different options on both of them when it comes to the card slots, or the slottage as.
The card slottage, yes. Yes, and mine does differ from yours. I'd say you have a bit of the advantage there with the Sony FX3A. Now, this one has an SD card slot as well as one CF Express card slot.
Where the Sony FX3 has dual SD cards, but they also double as CF Express Type A cards if you want to use that kind of recording format.
Yeah. Double slots, double damn. Now, with some similarities, we both have a record button on the front of the camera as well as the top of the camera, and of course you can use the shutter button as well. But some of the controls are actually quite different. I'm finding that the Panasonic S1II has a lot more controls to it. You know, we have the joystick, we have a quick menu, the dials are sort of more laid out, again, like that classic DSLR style body. So it is familiar, especially for someone that's transitioning as a hybrid shooter between still photography and video.
Yeah, I mean, you do have the PSAM button there, or the dial on the top there, which is more traditional. Here I have to dig into the menu a little bit more for that, but at this level of camera, I don't think it's a big deal. At least most people are going to sort of have it set and work with it, not have to adjust it all the time.
Yeah, now let's get into some of the shooting modes with these cameras, because that's where we're seeing some interesting comparisons. One of the things that we were very curious about is how these cameras were both going to perform against each other, because we were having a very hot day at the Calgary Stampede on the pavement, walking around the show. We were definitely getting overheated, but the cameras actually both fared quite well.
Yeah, now we weren't shooting really long extended clips. We weren't making a motion picture by any stretch, but you know, throughout the day we were testing these cameras in all different kinds of formats, and not once did we have any overheating warnings or issues with either one. Before we get into dynamic range and ISO performance and autofocus, those kind of things, I mean, the basic specs of these cameras are fairly similar in a lot of different ways. They're both are really capable video cameras, shooting 422 10-bit, and if you want to go 12-bit, you can do that to an external recorder.
That's right, they both can shoot 4K 120 for doing super slow motion, a lot of different features in between. And then of course with the Panasonic S1II, we have a slight advantage here. You can shoot open gate, and this gives you a ton of flexibility, especially if you're shooting for multi-platform. So if you want to have vertical as well as like 16:9 footage, this gives you a ton of flexibility in post.
Now, if you want to get the most out of these cameras when it comes to shooting video, you're going to shoot in log files, and they both are capable of doing that. With Sony, you're shooting the S-Log, which is a really impressive kind of format.
Yeah, from a grading perspective, they're fairly similar. You know, with V-Log, you have a bit more contrast and a bit more saturation in the tones, but we're seeing that you have a lot of flexibility, lots of dynamic range with both cameras, and we're enjoying the look of the footage. I mean, for years, we've gotten so many compliments whenever we have the FX3. One of our most popular comments is, what camera did you shoot this on? We do put it at the end of our videos, but you know, it's nice seeing that with the Panasonic S1II, we are having some very nice footage to work with a lot of latitude. Another notable feature that will grow with the Panasonic S1II is firmware. So we're expecting a new firmware update that's going to give you an RE profile. So this is exciting for people that are using this as a secondary camera to the more professional line of RE cameras. It's going to make your footage look similar to that whole lineup. And if you like that aesthetic, you can have it as well with Panasonic S1II. Of course, one of the big things that people want to know is autofocus performance and image stabilization. These are two really big features when it comes to the performance of the cameras, and we were surprised and impressed with how well the Panasonic stacked up against FX3.
Well, I've been talking for so long about how spoiled we are with the autofocus systems of majority of cameras on the market nowadays, and these are no exception. But video's always been kind of a challenge because you focus a bit slower maybe, right? You don't want those harsh transitions like you would on the photo side of things.
Yeah, now when it comes to the specs, the Panasonic is actually a little bit more spec'd out because we have full sensor coverage with their hybrid detection autofocus system. We also have more of the AI or machine learned profiles that are built into the Panasonic, where the Sony does a phenomenal job with people. I mean, it does have tracking for face and eye detection for people as well as animals, but definitely the sophistication of the autofocus system in Panasonic is just that next generation, next level of autofocus technology.
100%. Both cameras are really good this way. Now, as we're doing the longest tracking shot we've ever done on the YouTube channel, we're talking about stabilization. Now, between both these cameras, they are stabilized sensors, but the Panasonic is certainly a clear winner on this side of things.
Yeah, and our videographer Irfan was saying that he really noticed a difference with the enhanced stabilization on the Panasonic. We're getting up to 7.5 stops of in-body image stabilization for video, where the Sony has 5 stops of in-body image stabilization. Both very good, but you are getting an edge with the Panasonic.
Well, let's talk about the low light performance of these cameras on the ISO, because this camera is a beast on that, and it has a clear winner over the Panasonic when it comes to that range.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, your base ISO is definitely more flexible. You have a higher base ISO with it as well. And again, like we said, with the dynamic range being a little bit more flexible on the FX3, that's something to consider if you are shooting a lot of lower light scenarios, like we were here in this like pin bar studio in the basement of the Big 4 building at the Stampede grounds. A really cool addition to the show. And it really just shows you kind of different use cases for which camera might be more beneficial for you. Now we're gonna get into some of our overall impressions of both these cameras together, but really I think what my major takeaway is that the Panasonic S1II currently is a little bit underrated. I mean, it's such a powerful camera for the form factor as well as the price point.
I mean, I have to agree. I mean, the Sony has been fantastic for us, and they definitely have the biggest lens lineup out there. Right? If you look at all the third-party options for them, there's some fantastic stuff. And if low light performance is your key feature, you're going to lean yourself maybe towards the FX3. That's what's going to dominate your decision making. But the functionality and the performance and the stabilization, if you're more run and gun without a gimbal in a smaller kit, then that Panasonic is pretty impressive.
Yeah, we enjoyed the handheld performance of the Panasonic, and it was nice to have a lot of flexibilities in the video output, and a lot of the features here are quite nice. Plus, in the past, you know, we have shot Panasonic for our show. We used to use like GH6 cameras, GH7, and we do enjoy a lot of the video assist tools that Panasonic packs in all of their cameras that are designed for video.
I mean, both these cameras, both these brands are really well versed in video and filmmaking for generations, right? I mean, it's a long, long time. So we see this trickle down into the consumer level. These are fantastic cameras.
But of course, we want to know, what are your thoughts between the Panasonic S1II and the Sony FX3 or FX3A? Let us know in the comments below.
Make sure you follow us both on Instagram.
And if you're new to our channel, please subscribe and hit that notification bell. It's been Dave and Evelyn from the Camera Store. We hope to catch you again very soon.
Hey, thanks for sticking around and watching this most recent episode where we compare the FX3 versus the S1II. If you want to check out more of our recent content, click up here. And if you're Canadian and want to shop local, check out thecamerastore.com down here.